What's up, guys? So today I've got a bit of a different video. I'm going to be shooting over to my business partner Josh's place. We've had a hectic past week in terms of new deals signed at Morningside. So we've been doing kind of remote. I live over on this side of Auckland. He lives over that side. And since we've come back to New Zealand, we've not been working in the office. We've just moved out of there, which I'll explain in a second. So we have to go and make a bit of an effort to hang out in person. And so this is our weekly catch up in person. Usually go over to Josh's place. So I'm going to go over there, give you guys a breakdown of what we've been signing at Morningside, how we've got these deals, the main changes we're having on the agency side at the moment, and yeah, how we kind of operate now that we're back in Auckland. So this one's got no gas, so taking the Supra.
Yeah. Gotta have a space, yeah. Gotta have a space. I mean, freedom, you know what I mean? Yeah. Space to get this shit off. Yeah. Yeah. Get this shit off my mind, off my chest. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Camera died, but here we go. Yeah, so me and the Morningside team have been way over on our little European adventure over summer. And so now I've all come back to New Zealand and we've had to move out of the office that you guys would have seen us in. That lease ended just a week or two ago. And so now we're kind of homeless for a little bit. And we'll be looking for the next place for the Morningside team to be based out of here in New Zealand. We looked into houses. We looked into commercial office space that's available at the moment, but none of it was really tickling our fancy. So we've decided to kind of sit on our hands for a bit and keep the team remote just for a few weeks, a few months, even if we have to, until we can find the right kind of warehouse spot that we really have always kind of dreamed of. I always wanted to have like the project cars like this down the bottom, like a gym, we can have a boxing ring and stuff in there, and then we can have the office and kind of the desks up top. I can have my YouTube studio. So we're kind of holding out there for a place that we can really make our own. We'll probably have to invest quite a lot of money in it, but on the whole, I think it's going to be a better decision for us. So one of the downsides of having that remote set up for a little bit is that Josh lives on the other side of Auckland, on the North Shore, and I live over sort of on the city side. And so for us to keep in touch as founders, sure, you can have all the calls you want, but as you'll see when we get there, Josh has a little home office set up as well, as do we at my place, and we can do some whiteboarding there. I'll go over there. He's got his chef Paul there as well, so it's really good for me to go over and us just hang out in person a lot more, even though it's kind of makeshift and sort of hobbling along on crutches until we can get a much easier way to spend a lot more time together. And that's really, really important as co-founders to be spending a lot of time together. So you'll get to see Josh and I just brainstorming, chopping it up, and we'll do a breakdown of the projects that we've had recently, so you guys can get to know what's working for us at Morningside and what you can take into yours to sign some big deals like we have recently as well.
What's going on?
What's up, bro?
All good.
That was a mission filming all of that stuff in the car, I'm not gonna lie. Camera battery kept dying, so we had to do it on a phone. But
this is Hunter Campbell, our recruitment firm that we worked with on a couple of our roles here in New Zealand. So you go, look at this. This is cool. This went out to like 3,000 execs in New Zealand. Got the first page, one of the CEO. Second page, one of their execs.
Kind of familiar.
Ooh!
Morningside AI.
Welcome. Got a 2-page spread in it. The 6-step playbook to get started with AI tomorrow. Morningside AI, and there's our beautiful handsome managing director of consultant. Good write-up, eh?
Just testing some lead gen strategies.
Lead gen strategies here locally. So that's good.
Could be a good little strat.
Yesterday, or the day before, Liam messages and goes, I'm going to get 3 different car stands for my camera.
Yeah, mate.
And we said, all right, mate. And you know what we end up with? After all the thousands of dollars we've spent on camera equipment.
To be fair, anyone who works with camera knows the pain when you forget just the little connecty bit. Oh man, I need a videographer back ASAP. $10,000 camera on a set of boxes. Office attempt number 2.
Number 2. Still only has one person working in it.
So we're going to walk you through a bit of a rundown of the past 7 days, particularly around the projects we've signed. Josh's got a lot of the insights on what's working and what's not at Morningside, so we'll probably chuck a bit up on the board or chuck a bit up on screen, but yeah.
So updates on
Last 7 days.
yeah. So it's been a fucking big 7 days, eh? So we're wrapping up development because that obviously came through. We've been doing that for the past 8 months, and they're wanting to potentially bring that in-house at the moment. So we're in the process of going through a bit of a handoff process there at the moment. I think they'll come back in probably 2 to 3 months anyway, and we'll pick back up. But I think they've pushed so many features in the last 4 months. I think they're just in a phase where they just want to
get it in the hands of it.
get in. And I've recommended that to them anyway. Stop developing, get out and actually get some feedback on the features. So we've got that, which has been good. And then we've got 2 of these contracts. I mean, we've been working on these for 4 months now.
We're going to jump into Josh basically filling me in on what's been happening over the past week. But just as we started filming, we run into a typical issue, which is he just ran off to go and check the contracts to see how much we're allowed to talk about. And this is like a recurring issue that you guys will probably face as well. If you're doing content and making, running these projects with big companies, the bigger the brand name, the more of it.
The less you can talk about it, which is the strange part. And the reason that we do a lot of this, at least with the bigger clients, a lot of the time is to get the stuff that we can talk about.
Yeah.
So hopefully we're working with 2 of these guys at the moment on public case studies, ones that we've completed, which we'll be able to talk about publicly.
Yeah.
But for now, we're going to have to call it, an NRL team, which it is. And
so that was one of the projects signed in the past 7 days, an NRL team. And what was the contract value?
And so you've got on that. So we signed them at the start for about 10,000 US as an exploration. And so we've just signed them this week. And then essentially we've got, I think it's 80 to 90 US on top of that, which will be growing into in phase 1, which is estimated.
And so that's for purely development, yeah?
That is purely for development. I mean, this is obviously an expo, right? So to provide some insight into that. So that's our normal exploration process. So essentially, give you some context on this because I don't think I've briefed you a ton on this. Essentially, I got a lead request through the Morningside forum, probably back in all the way in April, I think it was, before we went to Europe. And it was from this NRL team, who I'm obviously a bit of a fan of. And funnily enough, it's actually from the head coach. So the head coach had actually found us through NBA team that we work with. Him and some of the coaches, coach, a bunch of other coaches, funnily enough, were in a WhatsApp group or like an iMessage group, and they were talking about coaching and stuff, and AI comes up and Morningside AI comes up. And so that is how, because obviously we've done work with the on that side, that's how that got mentioned. And we got this introduction. So he hit us up. And at the start, it was very general. It was just, hey, how could I potentially use AI? I know we're not utilizing our data well enough. What can we potentially do? So what we've decided to do here, and I've been speaking, like I said, it's done in April. So this has been 4 months, like trying to put this through.
Yeah,
and he went cold turkey for like a month.
This has been a roller coaster, and this is something you guys will get as you progress and you start taking on these bigger clients. It's like dating. It's like you hear from them and then you don't hear from them for like a month or something, and then they might come back and it's all this ups and downs emotional. It's literally,
and it's really easy to, when all you see is this number, is the signing bonus number at the start. It's like, what is the point of doing any of this?
All of that work just to get.
But what we've learned so much, which we'll get into soon, is like the way these balloon is insane, which is where our LTVs come from. But he actually came in and I remember me and Nick jumped on a call with him and I think we were trying to mention consulting first because we always obviously have the development and the consulting arm. And we said, hey, there's a bunch of identification that we could do here. But what we found was all of this is reliant so heavily on data, and a lot of it is talking to the data and querying the data to be able to get insights, actionable insights as fast as possible instead of waiting on analysts. And so what essentially we found was that we need to get in and essentially do hygiene checks and data checks before we can go any further. Like that's the core foundation, not going in and trying to identify use cases. And so we've started with them, obviously on this exploration period at the moment. This is, who's working on this? This is gonna be me in my fashionable CTO role, never written a lot of code, Taib. And then Tara is gonna be on this as well. And then we've got Alote on this. She's freaking good. So I've just brought her in as a machine learning engineer. Shit, she's good. And so she's going to be handling the data side to it. I'll be handling, because you got to keep in mind, right, is these guys are all based in Europe, so they don't even know that you can't pass forward in the game of rugby league. So I'm in there trying to translate. So essentially, we kicked this off. We signed it last week. Like I said, it will 10 for the expo. It will go into an 80 for phase 1, and then I think we'll balloon heavily out of it from there. I mean, literally, one of the objectives that he mentioned this week when we said, hey, what do you want to be able to do, is I want to be able to essentially ask a chatbot how I can win a game or win a championship for the NRL. So
that's a big ask.
It's a big ask, but obviously it's, there's opportunities and small steps that we can chip away on.
Right, so that's, call it 90, 100, 90K for all of that, all up, signed this week. And then the second one, Sean will run us through that. And I think we can jump into sharing with you guys some of the tweaks and changes we've had to Morningside as an org. We've got a few things that we've been playing around with that might be helpful for you guys.
So the second client that we've got is a large real estate company.
Second largest
real estate company by volume in the US.
Trading volume? Is that
I think I forget what that metric is. I think it's
all
the second.
Brokers, I think they're just distributed like agents.
Yeah.
The sales volume of all of them, I believe, is the second.
Combined, the second largest in the US.
We'll fact check that and put it on the screen.
And essentially, so with them, they are a public company. They came to us, same thing, around about the same time as these guys came to us in April. They came to us from word of mouth, actually. So someone had told them about Morningside. Me and Nick jumped onto a call with them and mentioned the consulting stuff again. These guys were so deep in the solution already. They knew exactly what they needed. In fact, they had a 45-page document that they sent through to us. Yeah. So I flipped that over to Alex.
That they actually know what they've thought about it. Because a lot of the time they just watch a video and go, oh, yeah, I think I need this, and then come to an agency and it'll be like some ridiculous use case that's like they don't really need all this lower hanging fruit. So this is something you guys will run into, is clients will come to you ready for dev, but they will have watched a video or something and they'll be picking this really strange, obscure use case that's not actually the best thing for them at that time. So Josh actually lives next to the rubbish dump, so that's just the rubbish trucks.
All right, so we got that real estate deal. So this, 45-page product document, I sent that over to Alex, and then we started moving on that. So I actually put Taib on this one. He's been great recently. And we did an expo, I think it was, only $5,000. It took us 1 week. There was just a few sort of key things. So this essentially is like contract generation. And this is an interesting use case, essentially, as voice starts to pop up and get a hell of a lot better.
But more and more, I think voice is like where majority of it's going.
Yeah, well, I mean, even this solution, right? Like the ability to be able to talk to that data.
It's just a change in interface with systems,
which is
right?
crazy, because 5 years ago, we were talking about...
Liam,
me and Liam were talking about freaking how this was the way that everything was going to go.
Voice.
Right.
But it's
crazy to see.
We thought it was going to be directly through the phone, like Siri or
we thought it was going to be Alexa. Me and Liam had this crazy idea that like, if Alexa goes into homes, what if we do that but for New Zealand? Because whoever controls the voice, controls the Alexa is essentially going to control all what products are getting recommended off the back end of it. And that way, it would be unstoppable.
Once you have ChatGPT,
a 19-year-old freaking
ChatGPT being your personal shopping assistant, once it hooks into Shopify and their ads running to it and stuff, we're there. And once people use it more through voice, but anyway, 5,000 exploration. For you guys who are not sure what an exploration is, that's just basically can we validate that the core functionality of this app works and is?
I mean, there's a bunch. I can touch on this quickly if you want. Is like. One thing, the reason why we got to expos is because we were running into issues with response quality. And so for anyone that's dealt with chatbots before, you know the issue of building a chatbot, sending it to the client, and then going, I don't like this response, this response, this response.
No. Or they like it for a week, and then the next week they don't like it.
Or they do that. And then your email keeps on getting banged and hammered because they want changes to the chatbot made, right? So we ran into this issue, and we're just getting into these like revision loops, which were just endless. This was probably like 1.5 years, 2 years ago. And so we decided that we have to go through an exploration phase, And if we're going to do it, we're going to charge for it. And we're going to try and identify some sort of tangible metric where we can actually, we can have some sort of tangible objective metric that signifies that a project is complete, right? So that the response quality obviously is subjective. Anyone can come to us and be like, I don't like the responses, so the project's not complete. We've got to find a way to minimize that. And so how we did it was we introduced this thing called cosine similarity, where we'll get a sample data set from a client in this exploration phase. We'll get them to write essentially the questions that they want to ask that data set, and we'll get them to write the expected responses. And then we'll run that data set through our model, and then essentially we will get the responses and we'll compare it with cosine similarity from the ones that they wrote to the ones the model produced. And that objective metric, say it's like 98% complete, or 98% similar, sorry. So it has a 98% cosine similarity score. We put that into the contract, and now it starts to add some sort of tangible metric, but we do it in massive amounts of volume, obviously. And so that's where Expos came from. And then they started to grow beyond chatbots, and it started to go into, like, for this client, there's two things that you've got to keep in mind. One is that you're talking to contracts, right? So like one of the use cases that they have is, say I want to generate a contract. I don't want to send it over to the legal team. I just want to speak into a voice agent and essentially tell it what I want in the contract, and then it generates it. Yeah. So we had to test that first and make sure it could be done on their documents. And then the second thing is they want it integrated with like things like DocuSign and CRMs and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. And so making sure we can actually do that. There's APIs available and all that sort of stuff.
Because there's a very big difference between like a rinky, like janky kind of prototype that you whip up just to prove that it works versus a production app. So that's why the price will balloon from 5K up to a many multiples of that once you're into the final project, because there's so much more engineering. But if you just pick the key points in the project to test, that's what explorations are for. And at the end of that, sometimes it's like, hey, this isn't feasible, but we don't really get that anymore, really.
No, but you know what else is so like important about this is in this one, we got told that it was going to be one contract they wanted to generate. Once we got into the expo and we started to essentially stakeholder conversations and talking to people, we're now left with 10. So it's like, if we had never gone through that, we would have built it out just for the one. We wouldn't have built it, the system is scalable. We would have missed out on all this stuff. Just going in and having conversations with people, not just the key decision maker that you're speaking to or your key point of contact there, but people that are dealing hands on the ground, like feet on the ground, dealing with these systems day in, day out, to try and understand what actually needs to be inside of that system. So you're not hearing it from one person. That's probably not inside of that workflow. And so that was really important for us.
And then the Expo rolled into, what was the contract size? Because they've already moved the goalposts on there, right? We've had to reevaluate. So what was the initial, and then what's that update with
I forget what the initial even was. I think it was about 60 to 1, I think it was like 80 to 120. And now it's gone up. We just sent through a new statement of work, which is 130. That's because
we do range-based pricing, guys, by the way. It's not like, it's just anywhere from, it's in the contract. It's actually, in the proposals, a range, depending on, Josh, you can explain the range-based pricing.
Yeah, so they were going to be like, just chucking out random numbers.
It was like 60 to 100 and...
So essentially how range-based pricing works is how most development companies do it for these bigger projects. So essentially what we'll do is we break this down into phases, right? So we've got essentially 3 different phases. So you've got phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, right? And then inside of here, you've got your milestones, right? Boom, boom, boom. And so when we're delivering it to the client in the statement of work, we're essentially given phase 1, which is, whatever it takes, right? Maybe it's design for the start or building the front end portion of it, whatever that is. And so we break down the main components into 3 different phases. And then to develop each component, you've got 3 milestones inside of it. And so these are more of sort of like, what are the tangible things that our developers actually have to do in order to develop this? And then we have at the bottom of this as well, like deliverables, like what are you actually going to get at the end of each of these phases? And then this is priced, right? So how we do it is I send this off to one of our developers, right? The 45-page product document. I send it off to one of our engineers, or in this case, actually 2 of our engineers, Taib and Alex, and they give me back essentially the breakdown of the phases, the breakdown of the milestones, and then they also give me a breakdown of how many hours it's going to take. And they say, obviously, no one can be exact because there's so many unknown unknowns. And so they'll go, 100 to 120 hours. And then essentially we convert that into our hourly price and say whatever that is, right? Say it's 200. And then essentially, obviously,
Do
we
the
work
maths.
out what our range-based pricing is with that, and then we go from there. And so this price is obviously fluctuating by who actually needs to be involved in phase one, right? Is it designers? Because designers are cheaper. Is it, back-end engineers? Is it front-end? Is there any machine learning stuff? Like, who's actually going to be involved? And that's what our engineers are also writing about when they do the exploration phase, right? So like, you've got to keep in mind is just to do that whole process, to go through a 45-page document and really understand how this thing's going to be architected and built. That's why we charge for it.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, so that's a rundown of these projects. If you add that up, we're over 200K on that in the past week. So it's pretty big. That's probably biggest.
I mean, the key thing to think about here, right, is like this is still very early. So they want to roll this out to 1,500 agents. Right, and so obviously we've got to do like a big thing that Jimmy's been working on this week is the scalability. There's permissions in there, right? Like all of that sort of stuff is massive, and so they're really working to get that architecture down.
So yeah, if all in all, how big do you reckon that's going to be over the next 12 months? That could be like a $500,000 contract, right?
That will probably be a $500,000 contract. I mean, that's just for phase. This is just for this initial. This is one workflow pretty much.
Oh, so we can get
right, and they've got a bunch of different ideas.
And
and they're a massive company. So,
well, that's takeaway for you guys. I think that's a big shift in how we've run our agency. When we started, it used to be very much like client in, do project one, maybe an extension of it, and then like see you later, and onto the next client. But now it's working with a handful and only onboarding like a couple a quarter, one or two really big ones that we want to work with, and then you just let them layer up on each other, when you're working with them for so long, and it gives you that roadmap. Like we've been able to bring on more engineers on top of this and just scale the team up based off these projects, right? So that's a very different way of running the agency, but when you know how much rubbish you have to go through with all the trust building and like getting to know them and understanding their business, it's definitely a superior way to operate if you've got the bandwidth and the leads to support it.
Well, I was in the accelerator today, right? And me and Nick, we're doing our Morningside update. So we do that every 2 weeks to a month, right? And we provide all the insight into Morningside and what we do and how we do it and everything in there. And I said even to the guys in there, I said, look, some of you are at this stage, but this should be more of a motivational video rather than anything else.
Yeah.
Like most of you guys aren't ready. It's like the AI transformation partner thing, right? Obviously you spoke about that. Everyone's now consulting. Shiny object syndrome. Yeah. And I still think.
Well, these are literally dev and dev. Big devs.
Yeah. And so I think, I was saying it on the accelerator thing today. I think like the number one thing is that people just need to get a really good understanding of what this technology is. Yeah.
And you can only do that through
because when I jump in here, no one's asking me, I've never written a line of code in my life. I've never even been an N8N. I've never been on voice flow. I've looked at it briefly. I could not do anything for you. But we're able to jump in and I'm able to sign these deals. And why is because I understand at least the technology, where it is at the moment and where it's going and how companies are actually utilizing this to move forward. They don't care about your N8N thing or your voice flow thing or anything like that. They care about moving the bloody needle. Yeah. These guys care about removing essentially or being able to save thousands of hours a month because they don't have to manually generate contracts anymore. These guys care about being able to get data in seconds instead of waiting hours to be able to get it. Whether you come in there and I say, we're gonna do it with N8N and voice flow and all this crap, no one cares, right? And so deal with that once they actually ask you what they want. And that's when for those that are in the accelerator, you ring up one of the accelerator consultants and you say, hey, this is what they want, can I do it? And they'll let you know. But it's just like, man, I see so many people just going down.
The interesting thing there is that you have the extensive business knowledge and understanding, so you understand the problems and pain that these guys have and sort of can comprehend their business from head to toe, and you know enough about the technology and where it's being plugged in. There's transcriptions, there's voice agents, there's automations you can build, and so it's like you can kind of just connect your strength in business with your understanding of the technology. And then if it's outside of this, is really good for anyone who's non-technical. Like as long as you've got people around you, like you can talk to me, you can talk to the development team. If you do need help, but like in 95% of the cases, you can just sort that all on your own, right? So, yeah. Other small tweaks on Morningside, bringing in the SDR. We've now put that in place. Someone who's been able to.
That's about freaking time, eh?
Yeah. So we've always had so much demand for our agency services because of the channel. It's always been a supply issue, not a demand issue. But now as we've scaled up the team, we've got more bandwidth and we can deliver and handle more projects simultaneously. And so Josh has decided to get himself off hopping on the introduction calls with our clients. And yeah, I'll Josh, let you explain that one.
Yeah, so we just got a BDR. Actually, a guy that Nick, our managing director of consulting, spoke to a couple of months ago as a potential hire. And then we thought he'd be perfect essentially to come in and help out on the sales side. So we've officially got out of Airtable and went to HubSpot, so we're big boys now on the CRM side. And he's going through every day now, vetting leads and then taking exploration calls. And then if it's development projects, he's passing it off obviously to the engineers. And if it is consulting projects, he's passing it off to Nick and the team over there. Mm-hmm. So it's working well. It's removed me out of that process a bit. The other thing that we're testing at the moment, because I know you talked about that AITP and everyone went crazy about it, but I think we throw a little spanner in the works here, because the other thing that we're testing at the moment is these POCs, which is interesting. So obviously usually we'll jump on a call, we'll find out, is someone like this? Do they have 45 pages ready to go on a specific use case? Does it make sense? And do we really believe that this is going to solve their problem? If yes, okay, let's go and do a development contract. Our minimum on these now, we're not taking anything under 100 grand. So if there's not 100 grand to be gained probably in the first 3 to 4 months, then we're not touching it, which has cut out a lot of the stuff we're doing, which is good. But on the other side of that, you've got consulting, right? If they're coming in and they're saying, hey, I don't know where to start, then fantastic. We're going to help you identify where essentially this technology can help you move needles. But what we've also been seeing is that there's a middle ground between that, right? Like they don't know exactly where they want to start. They haven't gone super in depth into finding a particular use case. They've got a couple maybe at top of mind that are easy to develop, but nothing that's really going to push the 100 to 150K budget that we are at absolute minimums on. Or the consulting side, they don't want to just go in, wait 6 weeks and chuck whatever you need to chuck at a consulting engagement to get that off the ground as well, until they can actually prove that this stuff can move needles. At the end of the day, it's like they've heard the headlines. They know that 80% of this stuff. Probably tried it.
Yeah.
They know that 80% of the stuff, at least what's been said at the moment, 80% of these things that have been pushed into production are failing, and they really want to make sure they're in that 20% bucket, which is what our job is. And so Nick and you said the other day was like, why don't we start doing these POCs? So we had a couple of clients that were like, an R on the consulting and identification side, an R on the development, because they didn't want to shoot straight into a 100K commitment. And we said, okay, why don't we start doing these POCs that only take us sort of 2 to 4 weeks. We do 20K minimums on those, and we essentially just try and speed run some really quick developments, and then get our foot in the door, build the relationship, prove the ROI. Hey, this is actually the results you can get, and this is how the needles are going to be moved. This stuff does work, and here it is at face value, and then move into let's identify further opportunities.
That's post-consulting gig.
So it's almost like POC, right, and then into like consulting, and then back out into like full dev, right?
Mm-hmm. But sometimes you get it where it goes consulting, POC, then full dev, right? So it's like they don't want to jump into the whole like, hey, here's 100 grand, take this to production. It's like, hey, look, you've done the proof, you've done the consulting for us, you've identified these use cases, but we're not ready to throw down 300 grand for these next 2 systems.
Yeah.
So POC, can you just like...
That's the thing about what we do here as well, is like usually our consulting stuff is so freaking good, and the fact of we know what traditional consulting companies are like, right? You generate a 65 to 80 page slide deck, and it usually ends up in the filing cabinet, and it's usually templated across every business that X Consulting works with. Yeah. And I think the thing that we're doing really well at the moment is like, man, I've seen Nick build POCs for people within even like just using Lovable within inside of like a couple of hours, right? And so a lot of the POC is even getting built inside of our consulting engagements.
The visual aspect as well. Exactly. Like the functionality, but sometimes just seeing it and being able to quickly visualize what a tool or a dashboard or something for them to use would look like. That's how we're starting to, and there's some other really cool stuff we'll talk about soon enough, maybe in a later video, but of how we're integrating that into our consulting practice as well to kind of deliver the consulting package. So the POC, and again, that's kind of like you've got Explo testing the functionality, POC turning that
POC is small enough where you don't need any expo. We're 100% confident we can do it. It's we've got one at the moment that's out, so it's a client. We've got 2 use cases out for them. It's going to be about 40 grand, and we're presenting that proposal next week. It's going to take us about 3 to 4 weeks to do both of them, and they do want to move into identifying more opportunities, but they want to start with proven value first. And I think one of the first ones is it's for an education company, funnily enough, and essentially it's cloning the key guy and making sure obviously that any student's able to speak to him at any time, right? And so like that stuff we were super confident that's easy for us. Then we just get in and do it. And get that wow from them, and then once we've got that wow, then it's okay. Now let's start to progress.
That's a rundown of this pretty crazy week for us. We didn't get here overnight. You guys have been watching for a while, we know that, but we've got also probably our biggest consulting gig to date in the pipeline right now, and we're working that through. Could be a really, really cool one for us. We might be able to film a bunch of that too. So I'll leave you on the cliffhanger of that. But yeah, Josh, you got any other last minute sauce here, or we get to let these guys get back to work?
I mean, you'll probably get a bunch of comments of people telling you it's bullshit. They can call it bullshit all they want. As far as I'm concerned, my stance on comments. And then they'll ask you for Stripe screenshots and all. Could you imagine going to any other company and being like, I need to see your Stripe screenshots, otherwise what you're saying is not true. Mate, I'll market my company how I want to market my company. It's so ridiculous. But anyway, like we said,
revealing my fucking...
Don't comment until another 6 months from now. And if these 2 are not public case studies, right, then you can come and comment. But if they're public case studies in the next 6 months, because obviously, as you guys know that have worked on big contracts, you can't go out and just say, hey, we're working with this public company. This is how much they paid us.
The bigger it is, the less you can talk about it. And so
you can't talk about it, which is a frustration for us because Liam's always like, I need to be able to talk about it. Otherwise, what's the point doing it? I'm like, well, I can't just go into these companies and tell them that we're going to publish this shit all over the internet. So
you mind if I just record this whole call and then post it on YouTube?
So we're trying to give you guys the insight, and like we said, that's essentially the categories, at least, of both of those clients. If there's not case studies from both of them in 6 months, please comment on this video. But other than that,
King Cappers,
go leave your comments somewhere else, because I already know what's going to come through this.
Go find those actual scammy AI gurus that are popping up everywhere now, and you can go leave comments on theirs and ask them for the same proof. So there you go.
I mean, that's the other thing, right? Just how many people are really... We really don't. Let's not go down that whole thing. But anyway,
we don't want to take shots on this.
Anyway, but good.
There you go, guys. That's a bit of an afternoon in the life of the Morningside AI leadership. But yeah, let you guys get back to it.